2013 meeting of the Metropolitan Traffic and Parking Commission to order. We want to welcome Mary Vavra as a newly appointed member of this commission. Commissioner Vavra was recently appointed by Mayor Dean and approved by the Metro Council. At the same time, I am pleased, and I'm sure you are, to announce that Commissioner Mitchell has been reappointed. We are certainly aware of the Commissioner Mitchell's thoughtful and insightful contributions to this commission, and that is greatly appreciated. And we know that Commissioner Vavra will add her knowledge and background to enhance the workings of this commission and to the safety and betterment of Nashville. Indeed, if she looks familiar to you, it is because she has attended some of the meetings of the commission and is familiar with this procedure and operation. At the same time, I am sad, and I'm sure you are, that our current chair, Jean Ward, will not be continuing on this commission. As many of you know, Jean was the Assistant Director of the Department of Public Works, and in some phase, Jean has diligently served our community and its citizens for over 50 years. This commission will truly miss his expertise, his knowledge, and historic component he brought to each meeting. Now, I have known Jean for over 30 years, and there is no one who has enhanced traffic and parking decisions to such a positive and thoughtful conclusion. Actually, he chaired this commission 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. We have had the reward of his knowledge, understanding, and his patience, and his homework. Commissioner Brown and I had the privilege of sitting next to him, and we were always amazed and perhaps a little taken back by the many notes and references he penciled in onto his copy of the agenda and the minutes. So, Jane, may you go from strength to strength in your future endeavors. We know that you will keep in touch with us, visit us. To you and your family, Godspeed. Any comments that you wish to make? Add to? If you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to secure and ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Before we approve of the agenda and of the old business, my understanding is that the old business, Chip, you want to?
Correct. We'd like to revise the agenda in front of you by removing old business item number 1 outright. And then the agenda falls into place from there. Just omit old business item number 1.
So we will call for approval of the agenda and the approval of the consent agenda. Please be aware that these items do not need a second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we approve of the agenda and the consent agenda. I have a motion.
Mr. Chair, we usually read through the consent agenda just to make sure no one's here
Okay,
on any of those items.
Not a problem. That would be items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Resolution 06-13. Install no parking or standing anytime on the north side of Broadway at 6th Avenue North. Install no parking or standing anytime on the west side of 3rd Avenue North at Joe Johnston. Install no left turn on Gallatin Road at 11th Street from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Install 2-hour parking on Ewing Drive from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Install taxi stand on the south side of Commerce Street at 7th Avenue North. Modify school bus parking at 1310 Ordway Place from no parking anytime to 7:30 a.m., 8:30 a.m., and from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Remove 15-minute parking on the east side of 9th Avenue North at Broadway and install 2 parking meters. Modify the loading zone at 219 Broadway from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And finally, remove loading zone in front of 312 9th Avenue South. Anybody wish to discuss these?
I have a question, sir. On the north side of Broadway at 6th, is that the area where the Metro Police were parking before?
That is correct. We had a site distance issue.
Okay. Are they okay with taking away their parking there? Did all that get worked out with them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one other question, the 219 Broadway loading zone, that would be on the south side of Broadway, right?
That is correct.
In front of, is that business okay with that?
That Trail West, that area, yes, they're okay with that.
Okay.
Any further comments? Then we will, I guess, go to new business since we have removed the old business. We have a request to authorize daytime horse-drawn carriage operation from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Excuse me, Chair, we need to vote on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
We need to vote.
Oh, we did not? Oh, I'm
No.
sorry. So all in favor?
I'd make a motion to
President.
approve the consent agenda.
The consent agenda is approved. I think.
President.
No second needed. Okay?
Do we need a hand?
Okay. Now we go to new business. Request to authorize daytime horse-drawn carriage operation from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. requested by Cumberland Carriages. Would you please come forth and give us a few minutes over here at the podium? Okay. And sign in before you do that, please, right there. You'll have approximately 3 minutes.
Mr. Chair, while we're getting ready, Diane can go
Yeah.
through the setup of why we're talking about daytime operation to begin with. Right now, it's a code issue of they're not allowed to operate during the day, and Diane can fill you in real quick while we're getting
Okay.
ready.
Ms. Marshall?
Currently, the hours for the carriage operations are 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and all day Saturday and Sunday. This is a request to allow daytime carriage operations. Currently, the stands that we have do not have hours for daytime carriage operations, and that is one of the concerns that we as a staff have. Also, Mr. Billy Fields is with us today if you need any comments from him in regard to carriage operations.
My name is Sarah Beth Williams. I'm with Cumberland Carriage Tours. I currently operate in the evening from 6 p.m. to normally till about 9 or 10 p.m. at night. I have one carriage, and most of the other carriage companies have 2 to 4 carriage permits. One was also issued under a moratorium in 2012, and that is making it difficult for my company to operate, being sandwiched in with all the other carriage companies. When you have other carriage companies and no ordinance under any price fixes, because I get affected by $10 rates, and my rate is $30 to $45. It would benefit me a great deal if I could operate during the daytime hours so that I do not get affected by the price rates, which go down to $10 a ride. It's hard for me to be able to compete when I'm currently trying to request a second permit to operate 2 carriages downtown at this time with Billy Fields. We're still waiting to find out whether or not I can have that second permit. So in the meantime, I would like to operate my horse-drawn carriage. I'm not asking to put up signs saying, horse-drawn carriages. I know that is an expense for the city. I do believe that it should be a seasonal deal because of the heat and the conditions with the horses on the pavement. Right now, I kind of feel like since this is June, with me coming up here and trying to request a permit during the hottest part of the months, which is June, July, and August, and September, it would not benefit my company until the fall. But if there is a time where we do have thunderstorms or we do have inclement weather, which it does state in our ordinance, that is a big issue with my company as well. I don't like to operate in really hot conditions, and especially when it's 92 or 90 degrees. And if I have an opportunity to operate when it's 70 degrees and really nice, then I would like to have the opportunity to work from 9 a.m. until 3 o'clock p.m. I have cooperated with Ms. Marshall on a lot of occasions, and the only thing that we really had an issue with was the police department, whether or not we would be in the way. I have cooperated with her and all that. We have not had any issues with the police, as far as calls, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I have not been aware of any. The only thing that we have an issue with is the legal department and having the signs posted on Broadway. And normally, if there is a truck that needs to load or unload, I usually just move out of the way and go to a different block. The carriage is movable. It's not like a car where, they leave the car there, like some of these, some other people do. I can just move my horse out of the way, and it's not been an issue. And usually between the 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., that's the best time to operate, because usually traffic flow does get heavy at 3:30, between 3:30 and 6 o'clock. So, it benefits me as well. So I don't have to be in the way of all that.
Okay, are you summing up, because your time is just about over?
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Fields? Do you wish to say anything?
No, I'm just here to answer questions.
All right.
If you have any questions about the operations.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Well, I'd like to hear, where's my speaker?
Go for it.
You moved me out of the way here. Mr. Chairman, I would like to hear from Mr. Fields as to what his theory is about this and the recommendation. How does he feel about this?
Okay. Mr. Fields, would you sign in, please?
I think it would help us to kind of make a decision.
While we're waiting on Mr. Fields, I'll chime in with some emails we all probably received this week, some in opposition, some maybe in favor of, and one in particular asking for a deferral. Please consider that as we go through these testimonies. Right now, Diane and I and Mr. Fields are working on some new routes, if you will, or maybe even zones that we're going to bring to the commission at some point. And with that said, and with her saying that maybe the summer months aren't the best time to do this, maybe we could all come back at a later date with a bigger, grand plan of new routes, new zones, and new times. But I just want you to put that on your things to think about as you listen to Mr. Fields.
The Transportation Licensing Commission historically has deferred its thoughts and opinions on patterns in traffic and that sort of thing downtown, not only to the Traffic and Parking Commission, but to the Metropolitan Police Department. Our position is, as long as the carriages can operate in a safe manner and have a place to be able to load and unload passengers, we don't care when they operate. But it needs to be considered in the overall context of the downtown traffic patterns, the needs of the loading and so forth. So again, in this particular case, I have no problems with carriages being out during the daytime, other than the issues that Ms. Williams brought forward in terms of heat and how the animals would be dealt with. And our ordinance does have provisions for that. So they're all aware of the temperature requirements and the inclement weather issues. So, as far as an opinion, we're happy to cooperate. Our biggest concern is to make sure that the horses do have the carriages do have a place to load and unload. And that's really what I think brought us to this point, is when we realized that we had some operations and we didn't have an absolute place to park, and that is a concern. But if we can provide space, then, and it fits within the traffic plans of downtown, we have no problem with that.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, in light of what we're hearing from Mr. Fields, I don't see any problem with us if we are allowed to grant her a new time. And also considering the fact that a deferral is obviously being recommended, I'd like to ask the question to the staff whether or not they think this would be any problem having this this particular request granted at this time, and then later on working to change the schedules and the times. Can we do that rather than hold off on this particular request?
Yeah, with my apologies to Ms. Williams for deciding something today, a deferral would give us a chance to give you a bit better picture of what we're dealing with. We need to have a place where these carriages load and unload, if you will. Right now, we've got the evening locations. We don't have a daytime location, and you'd have to prove that anyway. This would come before the commission. So until we get that, this would be a moot point to approve daytime operation because they don't have a loading area right now. So until we can bring back a loading and unloading location with the daytime operation recommendation, let the downtown groups get together. You saw the email. I'd request a deferral for 1 month at least. We're working with parks. Maybe we're going to use the flag, the circle down there, but we haven't worked out all the details with parks. And so there are a lot of things we're juggling right now to make a decision today.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Ms. Williams, I want you to understand that this commission only makes this decision based on concerns of safety and traffic. So the commerce piece doesn't come into play with us, with this commission. So we can't make that decision regarding the commerce, the statements you made regarding commerce, your business. We don't address those issues. But with Mr. Fields, I would like to hear the other carriage companies voice their concerns of what they want also to make it fair, but we can't make that decision based on the commerce piece.
And I also have a question.
Yeah, what you'd be voting on today would be an overall code change, so it would be open to all users.
Okay, that was my question, because if we do it, then that's gonna be everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my big concern is where they go. You are going to take up a loading zone space for them to park during the day, and those loading zones are very critical to the other things that go on downtown, whether it's a retail store unloading or a musician unloading or whatever. So you can't take that lightly, of giving up a daytime loading zone. They're extremely important downtown. And until you come up with a spot where they can go, and perhaps it is the Court of Flags or whatever, I think, honestly, we should wait until that time.
Commissioner Green?
Yeah, my comment was, we've got several moving parts going on downtown. I mean, we've just changed Fifth Avenue. We've had the convention center come. We've got this issue with the musician loading and unloading zone that's still unresolved. We've got this issue that just come forward. So we've got a lot of moving pieces down there that I'm not looking for a perfect solution, but I think it'd be advantageous to try to find some way to come up with a grander plan for resolving several of those things, as opposed to just kind of looking at it piecemeal, then you get a whole series of unintended consequences. So that would be my preference, if we could try to find some way to blend those together, please.
So Chip, is it better for us if we wait not just a 1 month deferral, but maybe 2 months or 3 months to come back on this? I know this musician piece can come back at any
Well, to address the
time.
loading zones, we're not going to take any loading zones for this operation. That's our objective. We don't plan to do that. But again, that would be presented to you guys to approve or disapprove anyway. I'm not an operator. That's the first I've heard. I knew the heat would be an issue, but I didn't know you weren't even interested in this during these summer months. So I would ask that question be posed to our requestee, if you will.
That is not my, I mean, I know that people have to load and unload because there are businesses down there just as much as I am. But I have not had an issue because in the daytime hours, we're allowed to only have one carriage per company downtown, so it's not like it is at night when it's more congestion. The issue that I have is, being able to move into a shade with the horse, because obviously on Broadway between 2nd and 3rd, in front of Mike's Ice Cream, it is very hot, and even if it's 85 to 90 degrees. So, the issue of taking up a loading zone would not. I'm not interested in taking a loading zone away and putting a carriage stand during the daytime hours, because it's more of a seasonal operation. It's more of a springtime and winter and fall and wintertime operation, and I don't see why other companies would. I don't think that they should, not have a place to load during the daytime hours when should only operate in the springtime, fall, and winter in the daytime hours. I think that it would be too congested for 14 carriages to be down there during the daytime hours, especially at nighttime.
Mr. Mitchell?
Ms. Williams, my question is it okay with you if we put this off for at least 2 months to give us time to identify the loading, where we're going to load, and because you're going to be back?
Well, I don't see any problem with that. The only issue that I really wanted was to be able to do it temporarily until the heat of the summer, and then come back in the fall. That's the only thing that I would like to do, because,
We can't do temporary, right, legal?
Basically, Chapter 1254 of the Metropolitan Code has a provision that says generally carriages may operate, I think it's between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., but that there can be exceptions to that can be granted by this commission. So you have the ability to grant an exception pretty broadly.
But if you do this, what's going to keep other carriage people from doing the same thing between these hours?
Well, with my experience, I've always had to go before the board and the commission to get any kind of request, and I believe that they should come before here too. I have to do it every year, and I don't. There's not a lot of companies that even operate during the daytime hours because there's not enough business down there for 4 to 6 carriages. If they were there all the time consistently, then it would be different.
Okay, but Billy, is there any way that all of these carriages could locate, say, down there at the riverfront instead of up there in the business area?
I've had some very preliminary conversations with the Parks Department. There are some issues about who can actually make the request, the business versus my office versus the businesses, for instance. As I've told the Parks, I have no problem making a request on behalf of the business because our concern is going to be the public safety. And part of the public safety is being able to locate them. And I think the Court of Flags probably is a good fit if the Parks Department will allow us to do that. And as far as the number of carriages, I would certainly limit, from my standpoint, I wouldn't want any more than one carriage per company, because we'd have 5 or 6 carriages at that point, and that would be a lot of carriages downtown. And frankly, they all won't operate. That I'm absolutely sure of. There will be, I would say, at the most 4 if we get to that point. But again, we do have to have a place to load and unload that fits with your rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Mr. Field, do you limit the number of carriages at night now?
We currently have 14 carriages that can operate in the downtown, the downtown route.
They can all 14 operate at one time?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have seen a lot at one time.
Typically, typically it's 10 or 12 is usually the number, but I'm not going to say there won't be 14 out there, because that's how many could be there if they all came.
Well, I believe everybody on the commission probably got an email from James Scott. He points out a lot of issues here that we need to consider about them leaving their water in front of businesses, backpacks, and other items here. I just think we need to think about this a little bit more.
I make a motion to defer indefinitely.
Well, he's not going to come back till he sent.
You know, basically, all she's asking for is a request. She's not going to be operating every day because of the heat. There's only going to be one carriage operation going on, and that'll be hers. It's not going to be in the way of the loading because she's not going to be sitting around all the time. She's going to be operating her carriage. So I don't see any harm in granting just one simple request at this time.
We have a motion on the floor.
And let me clarify, or let me make sure I'm understanding.
Let's have the motion on the floor, and then we can discuss the motion.
Okay, well, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. The only thing I want to clarify in my motion, if I'm understanding everything correctly, is that this is a charter change or a code change, right? This isn't just specific to her. If we make this change, it's not just going to, I mean, essentially other horse and carriage operators will be able to operate during those times as well. So it's not specific. She's requesting it, but it's not specific to just her operation. Other horse and carriage vendors will be able to operate during those daytime hours as well, correct?
No, I don't think that's correct. If you look at the provision 1254-320A that's there before you, that code provision is it's an ordinance adopted by the Metropolitan Council, and it can only be changed by the Metropolitan Council. However, it grants or delegates to this commission the authority to grant specific permission to a carriage to operate during other hours.
So on a case-by-case basis?
Yes, I think so.
But she will be operating in the location that they operate in now, correct?
Depending on whether or not we have shade. I mean, I may move to Second, or I may move to Commerce. You know, I mean, I want to stay in the location to where that people can find us, because there's only signs on between Second and Third for horse-drawn carriage operations.
Let me make one additional comment, though, in just a form of caution, because I think the same thing applies to what I'm saying. If we grant this for her, who's to say that another horse and carriage company will come next month and say, hey, can I have the same thing? And who are we to say, now we're picking favorites. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, I agree with Chip and think that we should defer it so we can get the rest of this stuff worked out. The same as Mr. Commissioner Green said, in terms of all the moving parts that we have downtown, it's a lot going on right now.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. But how can we grant her permission? How can we grant her permission? Are we saying that all of these other carriage companies has got to come here to get permission?
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what it sounds That's what
like.
we're saying.
So we're just opening up the barn door.
That's right.
So as soon as we say yes today, it'll be 10 of them at the next meeting.
Excuse me, I'm going to go back to Connor's speak. Generally, we vote on safety, you know, what the criteria are kind of more safety issues. I feel like here we're starting to make commerce, as the point's been made, commerce selection. And I didn't think my role was picking and choosing which carriage operator should be operating downtown. That makes me nervous.
Any further discussion?
Yes. I beg your pardon. We're not picking and choosing who operates down there. We've only had one request. Nobody else is interested in being down there but this one particular individual. So that's why she came here to the commission to ask us for permission. And I don't see any harm in granting her request, since we have the power to do that and the council allows us to do that. It's already been approved by the council. But no one else has requested it but her.
Further discussion? Okay. Would you please repeat your motion.
Okay, sure. I make a motion that we defer this indefinitely until we can get more information in terms of where we want to relocate or how we want to locate these carriages to operate during the daytime. So
Okay,
my motion is to
everybody
defer.
understand? Let's vote by hand, please. All in favor of the motion, please raise. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried, and it will be deferred indefinitely, and I'm sure we will hear further. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, the lady, ma'am,
Ms. Williams.
what's her name?
Ms. Williams.
Do you have a good relationship with these other carriage companies?
Not really.
Okay. What
You
I
know,
was going
$10 a ride is really hurts. you
What
know.
I was going to suggest is maybe all of you come in if they're in favor of doing this.
Well, that's very impossible to do because everybody's working against each other, and nobody wants to see another company succeed. And you know, I don't like all that drama down there, and I know this doesn't have anything to do with that, but I just want to be able to operate, and I have to worry about solicitors walking up to my carriage, pulling people off, taking them to a different carriage, $10 rides, coupons, people thinking that I'm that company when I'm not. We're all different. We all park in the same area. So when you have a lot of solicitors downtown with $10 coupons, and you're trying to make money to be able to go home and have your gas money, to be able to have food on the table, it's hard to do that when you have 3 or 4 carriages around you doing $10 rides. And that's why I came here today.
Okay.
I understand.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Appreciate that. And I'm sure that you will be hearing from us in the future. The next item, request to provide complimentary parking in the public square garage on July 4 through July 6 for the 2013 Music City July 4 celebration. This is requested by the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau. Any comments?
This is a request to provide the complimentary parking for the volunteers that will be working at the July 4th celebration. The commission has granted this in the past. According to the contract with the Nashville Downtown Partnership, any request for complimentary parking must be approved by the commission.
All right, I guess we can classify this as a amendment. And
I make a motion to approve.
motion, I mean.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the last thing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I don't think we've approved the minutes from the previous meeting yet.
We did it.
Did we? I was thinking we approved the agenda.
well, if we didn't, let's approve the minutes from the previous
I'd
meeting.
just like to make sure we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
With
So
traffic and parking, we take any route we want.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the
All in favor?
May meeting.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fields. And the last item of business is the commission officers. As I mentioned to you at the front of the meeting, Mr. Ward will not be continuing as the chair. This commission, as such, like most of the commissions within Metro, doesn't have any specific bylaws. The basic thing that it does, the closest thing we come to bylaws is the election of a chair and a vice chair in the fall. And it's very infrequent that we have the situation as we have here. My inclination was to hold an election for chair at the beginning of the July meeting, which allows this commission to have a phase of transparency for all who are interested in running to do so. This will be an election only for the chair because the vice chair has decided he will continue. Had a long conversation with him. Nice guy that he is, he decided he'll stay on. Now, if you have some different thoughts, I am open to those.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a different thought. Could we go ahead and proceed with the election today, since we have everybody here? And I would like to make that motion today.
Okay, we have a motion that we have the election today.
Second.
Just for clarification with our legal advisor, do we or do we not need to, if this motion passes, do we or do we not need to elect a chair and a vice chair, because the vice chair now is chair, and what you were telling me earlier?
Yes, I think that's correct. I'm afraid, Vice Chairman, that you are now the chairman by default. And so the vice chairmanship is actually the empty position, the vacated position currently that you would hold an election to fill. However, you all can certainly decide to deviate from your standing rules of procedure and have kind of a threshold vote to go ahead and hold an election for both positions.
Okay.
But I think someone could certainly nominate you for the vice chair position.
And that can be done today.
And what is your
or do you have to
pleasure,
wait?
commissioners?
We're still on his motion, right?
We're still on my motion
Yes.
to have the election today.
Sure.
And it's been
Second.
Second.
It's been second, yeah.
Okay,
let's
all
vote
in
on it.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And with that in mind, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Philip Brown be nominated as chair. And do I get to nominate everybody
Put both of them.
that I want to, or just one at a
Put them
time?
both on at once.
You can nominate for two different people for.
And I'd like to nominate you, Mr. Chairman, today as vice chair.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have motions that have been firsted and seconded so that we will have an election now. The election for chair, Mr. Philip Brown, are there any others? Nominations then will be closed. Are there any others? No. Mr. I guess you're it, kiddo.
Well, we have to have.
We got to vote. We got to vote.
All right,
We gotta-
vote. All in favor of Mr. Brown? It's unanimous. God, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we have to vote for you.
Now we got to vote on you.
Now, wait, we have to swap chairs.
No, you.
Now we
Go
got
ahead.
to vote on you, vice chair.
Well, isn't he?
I think didn't we just?
It doesn't make any difference. All right.
Same time.
All in favor of the Honorable Richard M. Moran as vice chair?
Aye.
Thank you. You want to?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of this commission, it's an honor for me to represent this commission, and I'm going to do my dead level best to represent Metro, the people that come before this commission, and I hope all of you will feel the same way and make this one good commission here with traffic and parking and working with the people that's on the staff over here. And again, thank you for the confidence in me to do this. Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. You better watch out for this man, though. I asked him just last week, I told him that Cynthia and I were looking at some property in Carmel, California, and I needed some help raising the funds for this, and he said he'd be more than happy to do this. The price was...
Until he told me it's $15 million.
No, $19 million. So, anyways, a serious minute. Steve, we extend to your family our sympathy on the passing of your father-in-law, and we're sorry to hear that. Any other business to come before this?
I actually have one thing I did want to bring up in other business. Yesterday afternoon, I was not a witness of the actual accident, but there was an accident that took place in front of the condominium that I live in, Worthing Mills, which is located right off of Roselle Parks Boulevard. My wife and I had lived there for a number of years, and then we just recently relocated back over there to that neighborhood. And when I relocated, I had just told my wife, I said, man, these cars are parking on Roselle Parks just on the street, and I knew it was a safety issue, and lo and behold, not 2 days after I made mention of it, it was a horrible accident out there. A neighbor of mine was coming out of their driveway, and I've got some pictures here that I was going to share with you all, but a neighbor was coming out of Worthing Mills to make a left and there are cars parked all down Roselle Parks, and the line of sight is horrible. You can't see anybody coming by. And so I just wanted to bring it up to the commission today, and particularly to the staff, to request that you guys try and do whatever you can immediately to do a traffic study and perhaps get that on the agenda for next meeting to maybe look at what we can do to prohibit parking there, but also long-term figure out a way that we can put it back, maybe by even putting in those kind of grooves that kind of cut into the sidewalk so people can parallel park, because I know the residents there, because I am one, but I don't live on that side of the development, but I know the residents there are going to want to park on the street, but they can't park on the street the way they're parking on it right now. And one of those pictures, when you see the ambulance coming up the street, you can't even see the ambulance, a big old ambulance. You couldn't even see the ambulance over the van that was parked right in front of the exit way of Worthing Mill Lofts. So, and to make matters even worse, actually one of the people involved was my neighbor, was 5 months pregnant in this accident. So this can happen as it currently stands right now, the way they're parking on the street, and you'll see the pictures, this could happen 5 times a day. It's that dangerous. I mean, you cannot see when you make a left. So I'd like to call the staff's immediate attention to that issue, because it's a very serious safety issue for the people that live in this community.
I'll get the pictures as they come around. You're talking about up by Hume Street?
Yeah,
right up Hume.
I live off of Hume, and I can't make a left. I don't make a left on the Roselle Parks off of Hume because you can't see. And same thing goes for, so you know the Hume Street, the main entrance to the building is just a few feet down from it, and it's the same situation. People are parking all the way up to practically the curb. And
Yeah, we
got the pictures there.
Yeah, we need to do what we did today at 6th and Broad, clear that sight distance out a little bit. We'll take a look at it right away.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Any further business?
Mr. Chairman, I want to just let the commission know my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in December, and we found out she was pregnant in November. But after 4 months of chemo, on Saturday she delivered a boy. He's healthy.
Good.
Yeah, and so he's home. And so lift him to your prayers. We have 6 more weeks of chemo and radiation to follow that. So.
Baby's okay?
Baby's okay.
Good.
Baby's
Good.
okay.
Yeah, baby's
Good.
okay.
Boy or girl?
Yeah, thank you. Boy.
All right.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Any further business? Captain?
I recommend that we dismiss.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you for your patience with me.